Oh, hi. As I mentioned in a previous video, I am part of a group of agents that manage the Charleston real estate website found at natwallen.com. As a group, we were discussing what we could do to help, and of course, we are here to help with real estate, but also living in Charleston has its benefits, and we all like to get out and have some fun. So this tour will share with you what it's like to be a boater in Charleston. So if you're coming to the coast or if you already live here, there are many spoils available to us. So this is compiled from a group of about a dozen agents that have all provided insight. So your agent was certainly a part of this, and let's get started. First, let's take a look at the Charleston Harbor. This will help you get your bearings. So the centerpiece of land here, this is the peninsula. This is Mount Pleasant. This is the Ravenel Bridge that leads over to it. West Ashley is over here, James Island, Sullivan's Island, of course the mouth of the harbor, the ocean, Folly Beach, Kiowa Island. Let's start by taking a look at the Ripley Light Marina, which is really close to downtown. So this is a public marina. It's not free. You have to pay to keep your boat there. There's not a boat landing here, but it's very accessible. And when I say accessible, think about this as you're viewing this tour. When you're in a boat, if you put your boat in a specific area, then it's going to dictate where you're going to travel. So also, while we're here at the Ripley Light Marina, of course, this is not a restaurant tour, but this is a pretty good restaurant here. This is called California Dreaming. It is a chain, but it's actually pretty good, and it's just a nice experience. There's easy parking. They have fantastic salads and really wonderful views of the water. So if you're looking for an easy place to eat and want to get on the water, take a look at California Dreaming. I think you'll like it. And let's take a look also. There's a dry dock storage here. So if you're not familiar with what dry dock storage is, it's basically boat racks. So you put your boat up on a rack, and then they take a crane, like this one found here, and they put it in the water. So you call them up, they take it off the shelf, they put it in the water for you. That's called dry dock storage. So let's now take a first look at a boat landing. Now, boat landings, there are probably a dozen here in the Charleston area. This one is very popular. It's called the Wapu Cut boat landing, and it's very easily accessible. So this is kind of the mouth of the Intracoastal Waterway. The Intracoastal Waterway runs up and down the East Coast. This is the Ashley River here. We were just at the Ripley Light Marina. And then this is, again, the Intracoastal Waterway, also referred to as the Wapu Cut. And this, again, is the Wapu Cut boat landing. A lot of people use this because it's very central. You can get out into the harbor easily. You can go out and do lots of fishing. It can get a little bit congested in the summertime. So if you're not really a great boat trailer driver, well, then you might consider starting out at a different landing, even though this is completely fine. There's plenty of space. It's just there might be a lot of people there. So again, back to the harbor access. Let's take a tour of the Riverland Terrace boat landing now. So this is the West Ashley side of town, and then this is the Riverland Terrace boat landing. So this would be a good alternative to the Wapu because it's not as busy, but the current through here is pretty strong. And again, depending on where you put in, this may dictate what it is you're going to do. So, for example, if you put your boat in here, you might consider going south to the Stono River, which is here. Off to the right would lead you toward Florida. This would lead you out toward the ocean. This is a little private marina called the St. John's Marina. There's a restaurant here. This is actually on the way to Johns Island. So this is James Island, this is Maybank Highway, and this leads you right into the heart of Johns Island, which is a large agricultural area here. So if you were to put in at the Riverland Terrace boat landing, which again is here, then you may make the decision to go to the backside of Kiowa Island, which is about a 20-minute boat ride, and it takes you here. So a lot of people like to pack a cooler, pack a picnic, bring your family and spend the day on the backside of an island. So you can anchor your boat here, walk around, to the front of the beach, and this is a good way to get out and be on the coast. And there might be some other families, but it's certainly not crowded, and you're not in a car, which is wonderful. So now let's back up. Let's go back to the Riverland Terrace boat landing for just a moment to keep our bearings. And now we're going to take a look at the Limehouse boat landing, which is a little bit further south. Now this is Main Road, so this is leading from West Ashley onto Johns Island. So that's the second way to get on Johns Island. And then this is the boat landing here. So again, if you plan on putting in here, you're most likely going to resolve to being in the Stono River, which is completely fine. But if you're interested in maybe going to some restaurants with docks, this may not be the right choice. And let's move into a better option for that. So now let's get back to the harbor again, just to get our bearings. Again, remember we started here at Ripley Light. We've seen this boat landing here at the Wapu Cut. Now we're going to go around the end of the peninsula, and we are going to go to the Remley's Point Marina, which is over here. So again, this is the Mount Pleasant boat landing. This is not a marina, just a boat landing. Place to put your boat in. This is a public landing. Again, this is downtown Charleston over here, and the bridge to Mount Pleasant. And this is about a 10-minute drive from downtown Charleston. Now, while we're over here, we'll take a look at Daniel Island, which is this peninsula of land here. And this was an interesting study when this is I-526, which is our half loop around the city. And once this was developed, it opened up all of this land. It was owned by the Guggenheims, and it was hunting land for them. Well, once this road came in, then it became developed, and this is Daniel Island. Now, this is a private landing. You have to be a Daniel Island resident. But while we're looking at boat landings, I thought I would show it to you. So here it is, just a little neighborhood boat landing that leads into Beresford Creek. And this large body of water out here is the Wando River here. Remember, here is the Ravenel Bridge. Here is the mouth of our harbor. Again, just trying to give you a lay of the land, for lack of a better term. The Wando River and the Cooper River. And then we were just here at the Daniel Island boat landing, which is, again, right here. So if you were to go back out toward the Wando River, which again is here, then you could go way up the Wando River to the Highway 41 landing. Now, unless you live out here or you're planning on doing some very specific fishing, I don't know if I would really recommend this landing. Now, if you live out here, it'd be great because it's easy access. But if you're looking to go out to some of the Barrier Island beaches or just into the harbor, this is a good 30-minute boat ride. Let's take a look at the street view so you can kind of see what it would look like from a car. So there's the boat landing. There's a little bridge that goes over the Wando River, and the landing is off to the right here, kind of beside this gas station. And then let's get back to the Cooper River, and we're kind of getting closer to downtown Charleston. So this is kind of a neat area. This is the Charleston Harbor Resort and Marina. So this is right across from downtown. In fact, they have ferries that lead across. We'll get a closer look here. This is the Yorktown, which is a naval museum here. There's a submarine and another warship, and of course an aircraft carrier here. So you don't have to own a boat to enjoy this, and certainly a good way to spend the day. And that's basically at Patriots Point, which also has a golf course. And we'll have another golf course tour in a future video as well. So let's take a look at Shem Creek, which is again on the Mount Pleasant side. And this is kind of a nice little hub. There's a lot of activity that goes on here. There are several restaurants. There's paddleboarding, kayaking. There's also a boat landing on the back side here. Just show it to you. So a little bit more of a perspective. So here's the harbor. Here's Shem Creek. You have to go slow through here in your boat because of all the activity. This is probably a 10-minute float, but if you were going full speed, it would take 4 minutes. I mean, it's not a long distance. And then let's take a look at the boat landing. I think we got a guy here that's putting his boat in the water, which is a good chance to talk about the type of boat to get here. So certainly you could get a large boat, but really, in my opinion, the ideal size boat for kind of inshore boating would be between a 17 and a 23-foot boat, because as you can see, they're easily trailerable, and anything larger than that, it becomes a little bit more of an ordeal, but you can certainly get out and be in the ocean in a larger boat. So it's really whatever your flavor is. Again, there's some rack storage over here. Let's take a look at, see, they've got more boats on shelves here. Now let's back out and let's take a look at the Tollers Cove Marina. So again, basically we're at Shem Creek, and we're going to come out into the harbor and basically come left. And let's take a look at the Tollers Cove Marina, which is on the outskirts of Sullivan's Island. So this is the causeway that leads from Mount Pleasant to Sullivan's. This is the Intracoastal Waterway. Remember, that runs north and south all up and down the East Coast. The Tollers Cove Marina, right here. And there's not a boat landing here, and this is actually a gated community. It's a very nice residential community, but you can certainly get access with a boat here as well and stop and gas up and things like that. So that's Tollers Cove. Now let's look at something where you don't have to have a boat, which is really kind of a nice thing. This is the old bridge in Mount Pleasant. So this used to be the only bridge that led from Mount Pleasant onto Sullivan's Island. And you can see it no longer exists. But this is a great place to bring the family and go crabbing or fishing and just kind of enjoy the outdoors. And again, you don't need a boat. Right across from there is another not so well-known boat landing called the Sullivan's Island boat landing. It's right here. And basically it makes sense if you live on Sullivan's Island to put your boat in here. It's not really an ideal place for anything other than that. In fact, there's a gate here, and you may need to live on Sullivan's Island to have a key to this gate. Now let's take a look at Breach Inlet. This is kind of a very active place. So this is Sullivan's Island, and this is Isle of Palms, and this is called Breach Inlet, which is extremely dangerous. Do not ever swim here, ever, even with a life jacket on. The currents will pull you under, and over the years, I've probably heard of 5, 6, 7 drownings. So be really careful in Breach Inlet. Not to scare you, but better safe than sorry. So here is a boat landing, which is called the Breach Inlet boat landing, which is on the back side of the start of the Isle of Palms. And it's basically right here. It's just a tiny little place. There's a seafood restaurant right here, which is pretty good. And let's take a look at it from the street view. So there it is. So that's the Breach Inlet Bridge. Beyond that bridge is Sullivan's Island. And here is the boat landing. So it's just a tiny little thing. Of course, you park your car here. And that's the Breach Inlet boat landing. Now let's take a look at a little bit more of a populated area on the end of Isle of Palms, which is called Wild Dunes, which is here. So basically this entire area, see where you see the golf course and this whole side, this kind of tip, the northern tip of the Isle of Palms, this is a gated resort community, which is a beautiful place called Wild Dunes. There's a marina, which is here. There is a boat landing, which is a public boat landing. And then this is the marina, which basically people who, I believe you can subscribe to this marina whether you own in Wild Dunes or not. But most of the people that have boats here have properties in Wild Dunes as well. And let's kind of get a look at the street view, which I think we'll see some people putting their boat in. Yep, so there you go. There's what it looks like on the ground. And now let's move way across town. Let's go south to the Folly Beach boat landing. And again, we're trying to cover all the possible boat landings here. So one more thing, if you were to put in at the Wild Dunes Marina, then mainly what you're going to want to do is just kind of enjoy this northern side of town. So for example, you could go to Capers Island. So there are several barrier islands that are not inhabited, and many times people pack a boat and a cooler, of course, and go to Capers Island, which is here. And you can kind of park on this beach and, before the ocean starts, and enjoy being on a deserted island, basically. So let's go to Folly Beach now, which is very south of where we are. From a car, from the Wild Dunes Marina, if you were to take a car to Folly Beach, you're probably looking at a good 40 minutes. But as the crow flies, or if you were in a boat, probably still a good, 20, 30 minutes. I mean, it's a good little distance. But this is the backside of Folly Beach. So this is Highway 171, or Folly Road, that crosses over the Folly River. And this is the Folly Beach Pier here. And then this is the boat landing that's basically right on the right-hand side as you get on Folly Beach. So if you want to do boating, in this side of town, well, then this would be certainly a good option. So now let's go back to the harbor for a moment, just so we can, again, kind of get our bearings here. So here we are back at the harbor. Remember this view, downtown, West Ashley, James Island. And now let's take a look at Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter is one of the forts that are off of our coast, and this is where the Civil War activity happened, and there's a lot of history there, and you can actually get on a ferry boat. Again, you don't have to own a boat. You can go downtown and be a tourist for a day and go and tour Fort Sumter. So again, no need to own a boat and still enjoy the water here in Charleston. Now this is fun. Next to Fort Sumter is Morris Island, which is a deserted island, and basically it's here. And what we do is we take our boat, we park it here. You can see a few right there already. So people take their boats and their kids and their family and their chairs, of course, and their coolers, and they park, and then you can go and be on a semi-deserted island. I mean, there are obviously some people there, but it's a good way to spend a summer weekend. You can even camp out there, and you can walk around to the tip and then go out on the ocean side as well, which is fun. So now let's go back toward the harbor. Again, this is, kind of an overview. Here's downtown. This is the Ashley River. We started here at the Ripley Light Marina. Now let's take a look at just a couple of the different marina offerings in the area. This is the Bristol Marina, which is close to the Citadel, which is our military college here. The Ashley Marina. I actually used to live on a houseboat right here when I was in college. My dad and my brother and I, we got a houseboat, and my brother and I lived in it and went to school, which was not ideal for studying, but it was certainly a way to be popular in college. Of course, it was a lot of fun. And then next to that is the City Marina. This is called the Super Dock. So David Geffen brought his ship in. I think it was the 8th largest in the world, and he brought it in and stayed for a few weeks, and it was kind of a big, interesting thing. And let's head up the Ashley River, which I think is a little bit removed. This is accessed through North Charleston. So this is our I-526 loop that starts in West Ashley and kind of makes its loop around toward Mount Pleasant, and then this is called the River's Edge Marina. So if you were to put in here, I think the best thing that you could do would be to go and tour the plantations, which are kind of north up the Ashley River. Interesting thing about the Ashley River, up this way, they're back in the dinosaur times, prehistoric era, This was a big mating ground or birthing ground for the megalodon sharks. So a lot of people, it's world known. People come and they dive way up in the Ashley River and they find giant shark's teeth. So these were like 100-foot long sharks. So interesting. When you see the big shark's teeth, a lot of them come from right here. And let's go back to the River's Edge Marina, take a look at what it looks like in person. And there's the marina. Lastly, let's just kind of go right back to the harbor where we started just to kind of get our bearings. And there we go. So in a nutshell, living in the Charleston area, there's just lots to do. Whether you have a boat or not, I would strongly encourage getting out on the water. It's great being on the coast. Our climate is very temperate here, and it's just a great place to be. So thank you so much for taking the tour, and happy house hunting. Bye-bye.